which is to ascend out of a bottomless pit, but it will go into perdition or destruction. When the inhabitant of the earth see this beast, this physicist form of government, come out of condition of virtual non-existence, they are going to be what? Dumbfounded. They shall wonder. Yes, the whole world will be utterly amazed when they see this beast resurrected or revived for the last time. Thank God.
And did you can in
Afe na wasem na oka amanfo be hu nyina so the entire pope we any pope.
Only last pope.
Very good.
The 7th attempt.
Yes.
Oh no dey ba. Enti na sa the chart yaba. Chart no, we call Revelation 17. 10 11
Revelation chapter
17.
Revelation chapter 17. Verse number
10 and 11.
11. Okay. Revelation 17, 10 and 11. Or saying,
there are 5.
And there are
7
kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So back we know buy when there be no see for more.
Oh no, so no can 5 kings no be can.
Okay.
5 kings, 5 are fallen here. Pope Pius the 11th.
Yes.
Pius the 12th. John the 23rd. Paul the 6th. And John Paul the 1st.
Okay. 5
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
And the 6th king. John Paul, or no name so communism so by because no prophetic robe here or baby play. Into one only 6th king no.
Okay.
Revelation
when he
focus no.
He must continue a short space.
6
verse 11.
5 are falling.
Okay.
1 is.
Also 1. 1 is.
Onu nie. Enu ye is no ye. Ono any time. And a prophecy no kan ye no. 5 no there. Abo magu. 1 is no gina homa John Paul the second.
Okay.
Enti oba ye nso hu so obeye adwuma den.
Sir.
Ewi ase
only the 6-1.
Only 6-1.
Okay.
Now after onu ne say the obeba no, obe rule for a relatively short period of time. Benedict by when or resigning.
Yes. On American as in back.
Anna, the other and the 8th, who is of the 7th.
I say, and the beast that was and is not. So I say when I'm for them chasing. Even he is the 8th and is of the 7th.
He is of the 7th.
I say we would roll.
I say we
would roll.
He is the beast who ascended from the bottomless pit.
Or say, and the beast that was and is not. Even he is the 8th and is of the 7th.
The beast in the Vatican, Wabedi Mreda.
Yes.
And 1798. Or here now attempts. Eba, you better revival no. Amo Asamba. You 6 previous attempts. I'm in town.
Yes.
Now the 7th attempt number, and the scripture I can say, it's not and is and will.
And it's on the 7th and go into perdition. Ose na boa dabi na oho na afei die oni hono ono anso ne die otoso nwotwe na o free nsu ni mu na okọ oseyi mu sebi mu dro
enti wanu nie Francis Aba, he is coming to attempt for the 7th time obe succeed yanso obe hwiase afi enko hwe final video machechi
abusia ye kwa hwe final video no na gina ho na menka se mi nche wansa ansa na mema kwa mo hwe final video no ti asem ye pa fasa number we ofa wi na afi maka se medi ekiracho number no eye 0249 choro so be bagu phone so abo 0249 64 77 ana 48 mi sisu biom 0249 64 77 48 so watwe no wi atwero 020 we ka ho 0205 053 365 0205 053 365. The ambassador be catch you na no si ya pe no ahya se na ofre number no na asem bi obi a obisa nipa no. Ya from ozo roofing e dan so ro bo omadwuma no. We dan so bo film a omonya dwuma bi abiem. Na tienie pa e dan so so pese odi nnua e na ye nsamso no. Ana so pese odi nnade abefo de na abani bi de nsamso no. Ozo roofing o metwa ne opo di ama. Afi nkense dan ahodo e de bodan so no omo ni nyina bi. De wati ni din pen bia no omo bi ho. Omo de edi so enfara do amumu no alokolo kre fese self lock no. Ebi ono omo alo zinc no omo aluminium de. Saa so ano mo wo eye de ye de dado ai bom ni bi ne papa pa ni bi e wo ho. Eno dan chan a ba ko bi friend say eye Euro Towers. Ana say Euro Bond na eno. Omo de board dan no so a opekra nto air condition bi. Because edan mi yunu tam bia. Kankan ne say wada na wa ko kan no ai say me wona mi yunu pe no de kan dan na. Bo so ho bo de ne hu ozufo o meboa wo. Na enyuma papa mu dinti no Ghana hanom ba bia no omo hye ta ho. All the 16 regions omo branches ho. Enti de obeya ne say na manam de ama no from se wu si dan ana ba utrim so be si dan a me pa cho mo na from no mebo so ma so ama ozo roofing ama dan so ama say kim kan se you beto ama dan so apa ne nso na hwe na mbo dan so so tim se you e dan ne aboso yi na se de ya no mo de PVC no kra pipes ne fa ho ama nso gu nchense ne so a enyunu famu a no my connection bia bo se omo twa tank bi na kogum kama no eno kra ne community so pa apopin mo ngu dan ho ti bo mo de no friend number sam de ama no na bibia anko din pama. You hear a third video. Your friend said the future restoration of Rome. And no, any third video, the future restoration of Rome. Yeah, ko share by a bar and come on the akachene also.
More than 2,000 years ago, the legions of Rome ventured from their isolated peninsula and dominated the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and much of Europe for hundreds of years. The political system and ideals spread by the empire have continued to shape the continent of Europe to this very day. Rome may have fallen in AD 476, but the last 1,500 years have been filled with repeated attempts to recreate the essence of the Roman Empire, the unification of the nations of Europe. Napoleon, Charlemagne, and Otto the Great are among the most important figures in European history, ruling vast and powerful empires, sweeping through the continent and striving to bring diverse peoples together under a common banner. Each one saw himself as the natural successor to Augustus, Constantine, and even Julius Caesar. On today's edition of Tomorrow's World, join me as we examine today's efforts to unify Europe, past attempts at reviving the empire, and where it is all headed, the future restoration of Rome. Welcome to Tomorrow's World, where we strive to find the root causes of what's going on in our world today and where current trends are headed. On today's program, we're examining an ideal which has been the driving force of an entire continent for more than 1,500 years. The last 2 decades have been tumultuous times for Europe, as the continent seems to have been in a constant state of crisis. Recently, Brexit and the potential for more nations to follow Britain's lead in breaking away from the European Union has caused many to question the future of the EU. Whatever may come of the EU, it's vital that we recognize that the idea of a unified Europe goes far deeper than any single organization. Nick Barrett of The Independent describes the role history plays in the current European desire for a united bloc of nations. To understand the continental adherence to a federal Europe, we should perhaps reflect on the long history of the post-Roman West. Century after century, generation after generation, the search for domination through military might has defined the European story, harking back to the good old days of imperial Rome. While the legions of Rome were feared and achieved stunning military victories, the true legacy of Rome was the ability to absorb former enemies into the expansive empire. Nations of greatly diverse language, religion, and culture operated under the umbrella of the Roman Empire and were welcomed into the fold. Diversity was allowed as long as it did not threaten the unity of the empire and the primacy of Rome. Today we see attempts to bring nations of diverse language, religion, and culture together once again. Are we indeed headed for a future restoration of the Roman dream? This is not the first time that Europe has sought to reorganize itself. Is the present attempt in the fashion and spirit of Rome? We'll look at 6 historical attempts to revive the Roman Empire. As we review the previous restorations of Rome, it's important to note that Christianity had already taken root in the empire before its fall, although the Christianity adopted by Constantine bore little resemblance to the Christianity of the first century church. The form of Christianity adopted and spread by the Roman Empire is an element we will see throughout these revivals, as it was used as the glue to bind the nations together with common culture and to grant legitimacy to the ruling elites. Less than 100 years after the fall of Rome, the eastern portion of the empire, now branded the Byzantine Empire, would seek to revive Rome's imperial past in what is often referred to as the imperial restoration of Justinian. The first restoration of Rome occurred in 554 under Justinian. Ascending to the Byzantine throne in 527, Justinian gave his greatest general, Belisarius, the task of reclaiming the lands previously held by Rome. While he did not reconquer the empire in its entirety, much of North Africa and Italy, including of course the city of Rome itself, were reunified as part of Justinian's revived Roman Empire. One of Justinian's lasting legacies would be his role in establishing the Bishop of Rome as the preeminent leader of the Catholic Church, even appointing 3 successive popes. Justinian's view of church and state as codependent, inseparable pieces are best understood through his own words. There are 2 great gifts which God in his love for man has granted from on high: the priesthood and the imperial dignity. Justinian's restoration would be short-lived, and it would be nearly 300 years before the next revival of Rome. The second restoration of Rome occurred in the year 800 under Charlemagne. Uniting much of Western Europe, Charlemagne's rule led to the Carolingian Renaissance, a period when literature, architecture, and the sciences flourished. Charlemagne was an ardent supporter of the Catholic Church and felt personally responsible for the spread of his religion. In the winter of 800, Charlemagne traveled to Rome and on Christmas Day knelt in St. Peter's Basilica when a historic event occurred. Pope Leo III took the crown and placed it on Charlemagne's head, giving him the title Imperator Romanorum, translated Emperor of the Romans. His legacy is felt to this day. For those who have revered him as the father of Europe, the greatness of Charlemagne, or Charles the Great, lies in the unifying forces he set in motion when he had himself crowned Holy Roman Emperor in the Eternal City on Christmas Day, 800 CE, by Pope Leo III. The idea of Europe's oneness has never quite died. We've looked at 2 historic restorations of Rome under the leadership of Justinian and Charlemagne. We've also seen the prominence given to the Catholic Church in these restorations to serve as a unifying element for the peoples of Europe. After Charlemagne's death, weak leadership devastated his empire, and Europe was again in need of a charismatic ruler. The third restoration of Rome occurred in 962 under Otto the Great. Otto, Duke of Saxony, became known as the protector of Europe, following a decisive victory over the invading Magyars at the Battle of Lechfeld. The papacy had acquired many enemies at this time, and the Pope petitioned Otto for help. Having been rescued by Otto, the Pope then crowned him as the Holy Roman Emperor. Once again, the empire was supported through both imperial and religious measures. Otto unified many of the German-speaking states, and his kingdom is often referred to as the First German Reich. The fourth restoration of Rome occurred in 1530 under Charles V. Charles V was crowned king of the Holy Roman Empire in Aachen, Germany, the seat of Charlemagne's realm. He recognized that religion stood as his best opportunity to create a cohesive empire. A fervent Roman Catholic, Charles hoped to unite all Europe in a Christian empire. However, a continent-wide crisis was fermenting, which would cause both church and state to renew their historic interdependence, the Protestant Reformation. Despite Charles's efforts to unify Europe and revive the glory of Rome, religious wars shattered his hopes. Despite this, in 1530, the Pope granted Charles the title he had sought, crowning him Holy Roman Emperor. The fifth restoration of Rome occurred in 1804 under Napoleon. This restoration features what is no doubt an attempt to revive imperial Rome. While Napoleon allowed the Pope to anoint him, he felt that allowing the Pope to crown him would be an indication of Napoleon's subservience to the papacy. Instead, he took the crown, placing it upon his own head while the Pope watched. He is often remembered, rightly so, as one of Europe's greatest generals. His legacy as a statesman should not be overlooked, but his ambitions can be best relayed by two quotes from the man himself. "I am a true Roman emperor. I am the best of the Caesars. Tell them that I am Charlemagne, the sword of the church, their emperor." To Napoleon, the idea of unifying Europe in the spirit of the Roman Empire was a very real ambition. The sixth restoration of Rome occurred between 1870 and 1945. Throughout much of the 19th century, Germany and Italy were divided into a number of quarreling small states and principalities. By 1871, Otto von Bismarck had succeeded in uniting all of non-Habsburg Germany. Garibaldi achieved the same goal with Italy. This set the stage for two of recent history's harshest dictators. Mussolini led his fascist party to power in 1922. The party derived its name from the fasces of Imperial Rome, and Mussolini's desire to take up the mantle of the Roman Empire is well known. What may not be so well known is that the other European element of the Axis powers, Adolf Hitler, also saw himself as a modern-day Caesar and Charlemagne's natural successor. In his mind, Hitler's thousand-year Reich would serve as the natural conclusion of a process that he traced back to the coronation of Charlemagne in 800. And so we have, over the course of nearly 1400 years, 6 attempts to unify the peoples of Europe in successive restorations of the Roman Empire. Justinian, Charlemagne, Otto the Great, Charles V, Napoleon, and the Axis powers used warfare, diplomacy, and the influence of religion to fulfill the European dream. Does this dream live on today? Are we seeing the groundwork laid for a future restoration of Rome? Whether or not the European Union succeeds in becoming the vessel through which the next revival of the Roman Empire occurs is yet to be seen. However, it is the clear direction in which some European states are moving, and either through the EU or some future confederation, it is the desired result. Václav Klaus served as President of the Czech Republic from 2003 to 2013. He provides an informed voice regarding the intended direction of the EU. In an interview for Der Spiegel, he made some remarkable observations. The development of European integration can be divided into 2 phases. The first era ended with the Maastricht Treaty. It was a liberalization phase, with the main goal of European integration at the time being the removal of various barriers and borders in Europe. But the second phase is a homogenization or standardization phase, one that involves regulation from the top and growing control over our lives. One of the goals of the EU has been to encourage Germans, Greeks, Spaniards, and Lithuanians to no longer see themselves as such, but as Europeans. It appears as though they have little choice in the matter. Commenting on the EU ignoring results of popular votes, Klaus declared, "The purpose of the Constitution was to take a step in the direction of a unification process. It failed. The supporters of a united Europe were in shock and practically paralyzed in the first few days following the French and Dutch referendums. But then they quickly realized that they could continue to pursue their original goals and intentions, even without a constitution. With each day that passes, Brussels puts out new laws, new initiatives, and new guidelines, all of which are forcing us in the direction of unification." History has a way of repeating itself, and European history points to yet another future effort to coalesce into a superpower in the Roman style. European history points to yet another future
right, sadye opanino na okano. I'm so achechi ni mama mi ehunu ahini enko ahini mra. Obi a modern boy obo sen ka obehwe se tumi no. Wesa so akudi Rome, anase Roman ensa. Then so pem na kwa egu na kwa kwesi kona gina kwantia. Over. Masma mbuza no se edie na sa akandifo na hemfo nyina baaye omuhu ye ntia ompese tumi no no san tam e de koma Rome. Na de tosumi nu edie su nti anomo ye be kanne ankosiaga
Now, Obedia Eddie said until 1798.